I like your armor. It looks
Like,
good.
thank you. I don't. How do you like do the dances again?
I think it's the dances are up here. You have to go up here and
I just don't
activate.
remember how to go into third person. Oh.
Yeah, that's an automatic thing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just made my guy look like as close to Hulk Hogan as I could get was my goal.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
I think you did good on that.
The dragon armor was like a free thing a while ago. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played this game in a hot minute, believe it or not.
Neither have I.
I saw all the Halloween stuff and I was like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, it's a little fancy. It's a little spruced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little bit. I mean, like, we're 4 days past Halloween.
Yeah.
So. Alright, well, do you want to stare out into space and talk some questions?
Sure.
Alright, I'm gonna go stare out into space. Look at all this goo. Look at the goo. Yeah. Oh, the goo is spreading. That's not good.
That's not what goo should be doing.
No, we don't want that.
Nope.
Okay. Alright, so first question. Let me grab it. Okay. So the first question for you is, why did you accept the invite? Why are we doing this today?
Why are we doing this today?
I don't know. I mean, I asked if you wanted to do this and you said sure. So what made you say sure?
So we've played some tabletop games in the past.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And I like sharing knowledge, and so I was like, sure, why not?
All right, cool. I like that answer. It's a good answer. Sharing knowledge is awesome. I think it's something that makes. I know that wild animals share knowledge plenty, and do it in like very unique ways. That's something I really like about humans in particular. It's just how much we desire to share knowledge.
Yeah, I think every species does, like a lot of different species do to some, like killer whales have whole tribes, and we give people a little too much credit there, but I think the thing that is really fun to study with people is how we decide to share knowledge. Because we get pretty creative in the sense that there's a lot of people who would oppress methods or ways that some ideologies would be swept under the rug or disappear, but would find ways to preserve things way longer than anyone else,
particularly through memes.
Well, memes, but also culture has a lot. Day of the Dead has been a way for indigenous people in the Central America to preserve some of the Aztec culture. Going beyond even once Catholics came in and tried to wipe that clean. Yeah,
they still held on to that.
The Day of the Dead is one of the things that have persisted to now, and there's a lot of interesting ways that they've held on to that culture. Which you can teach a whole class on. In fact, I have taken a whole class on it.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, one of my favorite classes I ever took in college was a class similar to that, was talking about culture and how, we as Americans have a culture, and it's kind of in our culture to ignore other cultures. It was a good class. I liked it.
Yeah. And particularly white culture is really weird in America, because in most cultures, your family unit is really important and you stay close to the family unit. But in a lot of white households in the United States, not all of them, it is common to, as soon as you become of age of consent, of age of adulthood, to leave and start your own life. completely separate. Your own cult, like, so a lot of things don't get preserved for us, and so we use big systems to preserve that history.
We do, don't we?
Yeah, but like in other cultures, like in white culture, verbal tradition is not a good way to preserve history because we often abandon our families.
Yeah.
But in other cultures, verbal tradition is
very important
and effective at remembering the important parts of the culture's history.
That's really interesting. Yeah. That's a whole topic that we could go hours and hours about, but
yes.
do you want the next question?
Sure.
All right. What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I do a lot of things. The thing that I've been doing the most of right now is I've been teaching, and I've been studying to get some additional credentials with teaching.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. So right now, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Okay. Right now I teach math.
Okay.
I'm on a bit of a break to get another credential in special education. But yeah, so I've taught math for a bit, and I've been going to school to get better at teaching math and get better at and learn how to better accommodate a more diverse group of students in my classroom.
Okay, cool. Is math the thing you want to be teaching from here on out, or is that just the topic that you kind of have been stuck with teaching?
I chose it.
Yeah.
Math is, I think, a really important part of our curriculum.
Okay.
And is something that I'm decent at. I'm not a fast reader or writer, so I don't. The other ones didn't interest me as much, or I find them interesting. But to read, hundreds of essays is not my idea of. It's not something I could do quickly. So
yeah.
But
fair enough.
Math is really important in our curriculum. It does things that no other classes, like curriculum-wise, do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trauma for a lot of students in it that I think needs to be addressed, and you need people prepared to address it.
Yeah. I think a lot of the people that I encounter always bemoan like they hated math class, and I was one of those people. I do not like math class. Like as you said, there's a lot of trauma around math in particular.
Yeah, and like I'm not trying to be dramatic when I use that word, because there's different levels of trauma, right?
Yeah.
But like it could be there, and there's so many different ways someone could be dissuaded from math or hate math because of experience. They could have had a bad teacher. They could have, performed poorly, and other students saw it and made fun of them. Or it could have been a cultural thing. It could be that, they come from an area where like women were dissuaded from studying math because math is a boy thing, or like math is it's not something for girls. Or it could have been, an absolutely dreadful counselor, which in some of the districts in my area, I'm not naming them because there's active lawsuits.
Oh gosh.
Where people Hispanic, Latinx students were never approved to take advanced placement classes because of their ethnicity. And
that's not okay.
The counselors were like, I don't think you're prepared to do this, and did not elaborate.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of negative stuff that can go around, but one thing that I say, and I learned this from my advisors and mentors, is in the high school math setting, or even
Mm-hmm.
in the pre-college, like secondary and primary school math setting,
Mm-hmm.
math, the actual concepts, least important thing you teach.
Mm-hmm.
The most important things you teach in a math class is how to reason abstractly and how to learn something you've never learned before. And then there's
Mm.
also a bit of academic vocabulary, which you don't get in other places.
Hmm.
Um,
For
so there's three.
me, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just going to mention to add to that list. For me, math was a learning to fail. Like, I feel like it's the quickest and easiest thing to fail at and like move on from it. Of like,
You get instant
yeah.
gratification, so that is helpful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that is totally valid. Yeah, I agree with that. Is that you can see a mistake immediately and correct it very quickly. So that
Mm-hmm.
is a safe place to fail. It's not like you just wrote an essay.
Yeah. It's not like you spent 3 hours on an essay and then got graded an F for, bad grammar.
Exactly.
It's
Uh,
like, yeah. Go ahead.
no, so no, like that's a really good point, and that's something that that can be taught in a lot of different classes, but math is a very quick one to do. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very satisfying to teach math because aha moments are really snappy.
Nice. I'm glad
But
you are satisfied with that.
yeah, it's it's so much like when you're doing like writing classes, it takes so long to get there, but like with math it's like you hear the oh so many times in a
Mm-hmm.
single class. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But these three areas, which I'll talk about briefly.
Okay.
So reasoning abstractly is kind of like talking about things that aren't concrete, aren't like here, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding like their significance. So that's like defining things that you're not familiar with and being able to process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a skill important both in in teaching. Like our goal is to make people quote college and career ready. That's what we want our students to be. They could go to
Mm.
college or they could go straight in their career. So when we're teaching skills, we want to address both.
Okay.
So important in the college and career setting.
Mm-hmm.
um, Academic vocabulary, um, a lot of the words we use in math are specific to our subject, but they also mean things in different disciplines.
Okay.
Um, so when we're teaching students how to use language in an academic setting, math is a great place to do that
Mm.
because you have words like average. What does average mean?
Mm.
There's so many definitions of average,
Yeah.
and in each discipline, it's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like in math, there could be, when you say the word average, it could be several things. You could be talking about mean, you could be talking about the median or the mode.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all statistics terms,
Yeah.
which, but it could mean a lot of things. So, like being precise and like paying attention to what words you use is something that is very present in math.
Hmm. Okay.
And the final one, which is I think the most important one, is how do you handle trying to use a system you have never seen before?
Hmm.
Like trigonometry, what's a sin? What's a cos? What's
Yeah.
a tan? Right?
Yeah.
It's like you're using completely new operations, new language, and a new system. And anyone who's entered the workforce knows that that happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
get they're like, oh great, they have a new program on the like they updated the cashiers, right? All the
Mm-hmm.
cash registers have like a new interface that we have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So the skill that I want my students to have the most when we're teaching that stuff is how can they self-teach something really quickly?
Hmm.
They need to learn how they learn so
Mm-hmm.
that when they go off to whatever the heck they're doing, they will know how to start.
That's amazing. I never thought of math that way, but when you put it that way, it makes me really wish that I had a better math teacher.
Unfortunately, we grew up in the time of No Child Left Behind,
Mm-hmm.
which are you familiar with No Child Left Behind?
Not really, no. But
Yeah.
I recognize that saying.
Yeah. When Bush was president, which already, oh no, wanted to make sure students didn't fall behind in classes. So
Mm.
he pushed this bill, and there's a whole legal process behind it. But basically, standardized testing became very common in order to determine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, your star testing, all that jazz.
Oh, the stuff that everyone hates.
The stuff that everyone hates, that's not very good at determining things, that
Uh-huh. It takes
explicitly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about those test scores, right?
Yeah.
If you look at like the demographics, like tied to test scores,
Mm-hmm.
low income areas and areas that have high immigrant population both
Mm-hmm.
score much lower
Hmm.
because the tests are not equitable.
It's almost like they were made for rich white folk and not for everyone else.
Yeah, there's some dark history between, like, there's some dark connections you can make between that and the literacy tests that we gave Black Americans that were when they were emancipated after the Civil War.
Yikes.
Now that they didn't have as harsh of a consequence, but basically, it's not great. Standardized tests are very hard to get right.
And people are more complicated than that. Like, you can't just boil a person down that way. Like, you just can't. People are more complicated.
True. No, I had the hard. My department had a hard pill to swallow last semester because we took a standardized test and we had 5 students in the entire school be proficient.
Wow.
And that's tough. Part of that is, we have a school that is 99% minority population. A lot of students that come here don't come to our school not speaking English.
I see. Yeah.
And over 60% of them are living below the poverty line and getting the free reduced lunch. So there's a lot of external factors that we're not addressing and instead looking at test scores.
Yeah. And those external factors affect a lot, especially for a kid. Like it matters. Do you speak a second language then?
I wish I did. No,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I taught a full immersion class, which is like it's teacherese for we don't have someone who speaks the languages, so we're going to do a English language development class with someone who's only speaking English. But I had a supervisor who actually came to campus and reviewed my stuff because I'm on kind of a probationary period. I'm a relatively new teacher. And like they asked me, hey, do you know what your students are saying when you're in class? And I said, no, I don't know. I don't know the languages they speak. And they're like, oh, well, I speak 3 languages.
Oh.
and I know what they're saying.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh no.
I hope it's good things.
Why don't you teach the class?
Yeah.
Please. Yeah, but yeah, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
I should learn a language. I have a lot of respect for my students though, who are learning 2 languages, and
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. All right. Do you want to move on to the next question?
Sure.
I feel like we might have already answered this, but why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I can go into this in a couple ways. I can tell you how I got here. um,
Okay.
I could tell you, what motivates me to get up. I could explain why I got here. I guess that makes sense.
I'm
Um,
more interested in like what drives you to do what you do.
oh yeah.
So like I would really like to hear about your motivation if that's something you're okay with sharing.
Oh, 100%. Um, Teaching is like I like the routine of teaching. You know, kind of what you're getting into, and it's hard. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, teaching is like one of those jobs that you still gotta wake up at 5 a.m. to get there before all the students do, and you gotta leave late. So you leave around 4. Well, like you wake up at 5 and you get home at like 6 or 7 p.m.
Mhm.
Um, you're out for the entire day. Um,
Yeah.
but when I'm in the classroom working with students talking, and it does fill me with energy. Like it's very motivating to see students develop these skills.
Mhm.
When when you've like studied like child development, like I have, like you see all the signs, and you see like students that you've been working with all year, and once you get to a certain point, you start seeing them like go through their entire like high school career, and
Mhm.
watch them develop into a person who can who will be voting, who will have some sort of impact on the world.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like the grand motivation. It's my contribution to our country. My contribution to the world is to have educated voters, to have educated people, which is
Uh-huh.
not what a large portion of the politicians want.
Hmm.
When you see people cut education services or restrict education,
Mhm.
um, politicians, when I say people, um,
Mhm.
what they're saying is that they want a voter base that is uneducated.
Hmm. I can
So
see
when you,
that.
yeah, and there's some politicians that definitely works towards. I don't want to get super political if you don't want to, but always be on the lookout for anyone trying to cut things in education,
Yeah.
or try to privatize things in education.
Or
Um,
mental health for that matter too.
oh yeah, yeah.
It's
Anything,
it says a lot.
yeah. Anything that would make it harder, like anything that makes it harder for voters to be able to get information or have
Mhm.
the skills in order to make an informed decision. If a politician or a country is trying to restrict that, that's a red flag.
Hmm.
That's how you get to fascism.
Hmm.
Um, so
Interesting.
I'm so I'm fighting against fascism by teaching math. Um,
Nice.
but I think
Love
there's
that.
also, yeah, there's also like a smaller like micro thing that like you build a lesson, and then you present it to students, and like you watch how students respond, and then you tinker it a bit for the next time, and
Mhm.
next group of students you work with, you show it to them adjusted. It ends up being the last class gets the best lesson. But
Mhm.
like you're thinking about every student in your class, and you have these puzzles to solve.
Hmm.
Like how, like if you have IEPs, individual education plans for students with disabilities in your class. All right, this student has a vision impairment. How do I make sure, like they can let's say they can only see like 2 feet in front of their face, which I've had before.
Mhm.
Uh, how do we make sure that they can engage with not only like what I'm saying, but like work with their peers? How do we make sure all that works?
Mm-hmm.
Is a fun puzzle. It's like, how do we like those are like fun challenges for me, at least.
Interesting. I like that.
It's and the debt, like, and the best part is like I'm not doing this for like a bottom line. I'm not doing this to line someone's pocket. Like, the only person benefiting from what I'm doing are my students, who don't have to pay me.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Imagine if they did. That'd be miserable.
Oh yeah, that's actually why I decided not to go into college education, like teach college, because I was like, I knew I wanted to teach math at one point, and I wasn't sure where, like what level. I was like, maybe working with adults would be better. But then I thought, how could I like come every day to class, sit down and start teaching, and know that the students in front of me spend $4,000 a semester to sit in front of me and listen to me lecture.
Yeah, I understand that.
and there's no judgment to people who do go into professorships. In fact, in my state, California, there's a lot of professors, or like the unions here, are fighting for better pay. And what the school systems here, particularly CSU, have done is try and pit students against professors by raising tuition.
Interesting.
It's, a method of oppression is to put those that are not in power against each other.
Interesting.
Which, surprise. It's a common method, so.
I see. Yeah.
Even though I can't do that, I don't judge professors. In fact, they do. There's a lot of great professors out there who do teach amazing classes and try and make them affordable and help people in need.
Yeah, it's just a broken system.
It is. They are working in a broken system, and the high school system isn't much better, but at least the student isn't paying a financial price. They're paying the price in other ways.
Yeah, at least. That's true.
At least. Yeah. It's a cope. Right. It's a coping mechanism.
It is a cope. It'll work. At least you're doing the good work. That's what matters. All right, let's find another spot to be.
Okay. You want us? All right.
Change the scenery.
Yeah, we just chose a time where, like, it's super gross everywhere.
It's okay. Look, there's just more stuff to look at. We could go to the hot tub if you want.
There's a hot tub?
Yeah, there's a hot tub.
I haven't played this game in so long.
I think you'll laugh when you figure out what it is. It's up here. I think it's up here. There's a button to turn off the gravity, and then there's a stairway up. Through here? Ah, it is through here. And over here. Perfect. And then you just jump in.
Oh, this is what you mean by hot tub.
Yeah. It's hot
very
tub.
Hot. Yeah.
It is. It'll work.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for the next question?
Yeah, shoot.
Do you make things?
Do I? I mean, I make lesson plans.
That works.
A lot. I make a lot of things. So that's one of the. I have a couple hobbies.
Okay.
But I mean, for my job, I make things.
Okay.
I make worksheets. make interactive activities. Sometimes I have to design craft activities. I like to like make students do arts, but then I have to design the structure for them to do math related art.
How difficult is it to structure math in with art?
It depends on what you're teaching. You know, there's some things where it comes pretty naturally when you're doing graphs and stuff. When you're teaching geometry, it works pretty well. One of my favorite things to teach in a class that is unfortunately in the high school curriculum shouldn't exist in my opinion. It's called the acronym is MRWC, and it's math reasoning with, I forgot what the C stands for, but it's in the Common Core curriculum.
Oh, okay.
And the problem with it is it's for people who would want to go further into math in the future, because it's like very proof heavy, but like part of it is you like learn how to build triangles, like prove that something is a triangle essentially. Like, so like you have to follow specific constructions to ensure what you've done is a triangle.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's a really cool class, but it doesn't work because the people who would take that would be people who would be interested in pursuing math. And to take that class, you kind of have to skip you can't do calculus in high school if you do that. And every single math major, anyone who wants to study math or something math related, has to take calculus.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So it's a class that is, it's hard to justify. I'm not sure. There's got to be some restructuring there.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Okay.
But
go ahead.
Art, making things, yeah. So like when you're dealing with geometry, all these other things, tessellations, there's a lot of fun things you can do with art, especially when you ask them to tell a story. Telling a story with math is my favorite one to show them.
Okay. Can you give us a really short example of that?
All right. Story using math. Like, sometimes I'll ask them to make a word problem. Like, all right, give us a situation where you could use cosine, like the cosine function in real life. And there's a few good ones. It's actually used a lot. It's used in roofing, but we use it like we describe it differently. We describe roofing as being like by 12s. So every 12 feet, how high does it go up? Well, that's a right triangle. You can use trigonometry.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, tell a story with math is come up with a problem. Sometimes I do crazy fantasy situations, and other times it's like down to earth, like here's a practical thing that I want to do with my life. And it's kind of like a self-expression for students.
That's neat. I do like that. That's cool. All right. Do you feel like you've answered the question?
I mean, I can talk about a little bit of my projects in my free time.
Only if you want to.
Yeah. My free time, I really like tabletop role-playing games, and so I casually like will build my own games. Like just mess around with systems I think are fun. I don't publish them because that's not the part that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Once I've made something, I'm happy to have it.
Just to keep it.
Yeah, I don't need praise or need a fan base to make it worthwhile. Just the action of doing it was worthwhile.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you for sharing. Do you want the next question?
Sure.
The next question is, why do you make things?
The short answer is because I have to.
With the lessons plans, yes.
Yeah, with the lesson plans, you have to. There are some school districts where you don't have to, but you still have to like customize and like format things.
Okay.
You need to adjust it to your classroom, because if there was like one lesson plan set that would make sure everyone understood trigonometry, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have a job
Mm-hmm.
if there
Yep.
was just
Fair.
one way.
Yeah.
So the short answer is, well, like one part of it is I have to, because there's like I have to find the perfect combination of things to work in my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and I think the long answer is creation is kind of like I'm not like a talented artist, like I or a talented drawer, painter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can write decent prose, but it takes me a really long time to write prose.
Okay.
Um, but what I feel is the way I express myself is by creating things that facilitate stories, that facilitate expression.
Mm.
So I do that through role playing games, and I also do it through teaching, where I create systems in my classroom that allow students to express their skills, express themselves,
Mm-hmm.
um, show others what they can do,
Yeah,
um,
it's pretty cool.
which is something that is, young people, uh, and like young people in general have trouble developing, and then when I have students with disabilities, um, sometimes it's really hard for them to express themselves at all.
Mm-hmm.
So like you got to make those, but like it's a very powerful thing to be able to create something that allowed someone else to say what they needed to say.
Yeah. That sounds really fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Uh, do you want the next question?
Sure.
The next question, we might have to tweak this one, but the next question is, why do you really make things? Like, what about that you just said, like, is the real reason why you do this?
Yeah, the real reason is the real reason I make things the way I do is because um, I've always struggled with communication to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was diagnosed with autism at a very young age,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I was nonverbal for a period, and
Okay.
then even after that, I took me many years of speech therapy, of structured environments, and like just and a lot of failed communication to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to communicate with people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I still I still have some challenges in communication, but like I like to explore how communication works with what I make,
Mm-hmm.
but also give other people a chance to communicate
In the
um,
way that suits them.
in the way that works for them.
Yeah.
Uh, I can tell you all about methods of like how to teach people how to communicate, um, if you're interested. But that may be out of the scope. That is a
Might be,
college course.
yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting college course.
Yeah.
If you ever do teach college, that could be one of them.
Oh yeah. There's some amazing professors out there teaching just the study of behavior, and it is
Mm-hmm.
fascinating.
It's quite unique, yeah. It's neat. All right, cool. Well, thank you for sharing,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
To that specifically?
Yeah, just there's no pressure to do so if you don't want to. If you feel like you covered it, then that's all right. I just
yeah,
want to.
If you have anything you want me to clarify, I'm happy to do so.
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, I think I explained that decently enough.
Okay, yeah, cool. So the next question is, who is someone you like? So it's not a romantic like that I'm looking for. Although if you have one that you want to talk about, I'll listen. I'm more thinking about like, who are some people that you just like to be around, that you think are cool, that you appreciate?
Let me think. I'm not gonna name drop.
Okay.
I like to keep things private. And I talk to
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my favorite things about the friends that I have is that
Mm-hmm.
they are extremely diverse.
Mm-hmm.
That I love the internet because it allows me to have friends from so many different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
It is incredible.
Yeah. A lot of different
What
experiences.
like I have a friend who's trucker in Montana, and then I have another friend, working on the next big thing at Google, and then I have another friend who, you know, animated the monkey vomits on one of the Disney Plus shows. I think it was Loki.
Interesting.
That was his job, and no one else wanted it. Uh, and now he's the monkey vomit guy. If anyone wants, if a gross thing needs to be animated, he's the guy at the studio.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool.
but I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that not only have differing opinions from you, but also have different experiences, different professions.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can learn from them, but also you get more diverse perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things you see, people don't like some Facebook groups because they
Mm-hmm.
just spout hate. It's because there's
Mm-hmm.
only one kind of person in there.
Hmm. Yeah, there's
That
not a
makes
lot of challenging points of views. Yeah,
so
that
you
makes
need.
sense.
I like people that challenge me and push me to be better.
Mm. Okay. Well, I guess that follows what the next question is, which is, what do you like about them? So.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to name a specific one, describe a specific one, I
It's
can't.
up to you. You don't have to, but if you want to, I'll listen.
Sure. Uh, I have one of my friends is a law student
Okay.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very very knowledgeable
Mm-hmm.
on and they're very eloquent, like in terms of write, like they're law student, they write a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and when they write, they're able to write in this very mature, like respectful voice,
Interesting.
um, and they write about like this for most things, like in their personal life, and
Mm-hmm.
the way they talk and the way that they can educate, the way that they can really tell you about a political situation and
Mm-hmm.
not have you like feel a certain immediately choose
Mm-hmm.
the way he writes forces you to think about your decisions,
Hmm.
um, and it's really incredible. I have a lot of respect for that guy.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Um, if I was able to, I'd love to read an excerpt, but you know, it might not happen, and that's okay. But I want to share in feelings of it's more than respect. It's I guess admiration. for that ability. I can see why you would like that about him or them. Sorry.
He's a very private person, so I don't know if I could share them.
That's totally okay, but I can see why you like them a lot. That's cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Sure.
Next question is, what do you like about yourself? I'm gonna go over here now.
Oh, we're moving.
No, I'm just gonna stand next to you. Change the angles.
You want a profile? I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of absurdity to having an interview about personal things and have your avatar be a dwarf that's designed to look like Hulk Hogan.
Well, we also got your Radicus 40 hammer. Sorry, Warhammer 40K.
Oh, that's still up. Oh my goodness. I forgot I had that guy. Normally, like when I do those, I use like a little yellow pawn.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I don't know. Like I went through a phase where I just like loved Colonel Mustard. I thought he was just a fun character.
He is a fun character.
Like I had like just a blank yellow pawn piece as my thing like that. But I think beautiful. I was
yeah. Okay.
All right. What was the question again?
What do you like about yourself?
That's a good question. And a few years ago, I would have said I don't really like myself, except I like that I'm able to befriend people that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been my answer then. But you know, I've made some progress in my mental health since then. Mm-hmm. And I do have things I like about myself. I like that I perceive myself as someone who is kind, who helps others. But I also like my ability, like this is my ability to be spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to. Now, it's not great to rely on that by itself, but to be able to improvise or be able to adjust has been a skill that took me a very long time to develop. And I think that I'm very proud of myself for being able to like channel that kind of spontaneity, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can relate. I had trouble just letting things happen because of, things in my life kind of made sure that I always, wasn't comfortable around just things happening.
Yeah.
But it was a skill that I learned to like accept, things happening and like making the most out of it and just going with the flow. Is that something related to what you're talking about?
Partially, yeah. Being accommodating to others, but being able to adjust, and even like part of the skill of being spontaneous is knowing your patterns, knowing how things generally go, because if you have one plan and like you've never done and it's something unfamiliar to you, that one plan going out, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So having more than one plan is helpful.
Yeah, or even knowing the outcomes of that plan not succeeding, and knowing like, and this takes time to learn, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like I can confidently like say it'll be okay. And mean it. So.
Yeah. I from what I'm understanding, you appreciate your ability to learn that skill. and that you did put in the work to make that happen. That's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing. I like that about you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, do you want the next question?
Sure.
The next one is what about yourself inspires you?
What about myself inspires me? Definitely the progress I made to get to this point. The stuff that I've gone through already, like lets me know that like I think I can confidently say that the worst is behind me.
Yeah.
And that itself is inspiring. Like I can always say you've been through worse. Like
yeah.
Being being stuck. Like I went through a phase where I couldn't talk, and like other people, like it was hard for me to communicate with other people, and that's really difficult to go through. And
yeah,
I've definitely gone through the ringer with mental health as well, and gone through gone through a very corrupt psych ward, outpatient facility connected to it afterwards.
Wow.
And that's over now.
Yeah.
Like, I can look at that and say I made it.
You survived.
I survived, and I have not encountered anything worse than that yet, fortunately.
Well, that's good, but also I'm sorry you had to suffer with that.
Sometimes we have to go through tough stuff, but
yeah.
Now I know that I can. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say that that's pretty inspiring. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right, let's get out of the hot tub.
All right.
We're getting wrinkly.
Yeah.
I'm on the pumpkin now. No, I'm gonna fall.
You're gonna do a little balancing game.
Just a little bit. Let's see, where do we want to be? I don't know where do we want to be. Do we want to start a map? Take it super casual?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go easy.
Just do like a more crate mining thing.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
Trying to find one that I like. The one, my favorite one, which is the dense biozone, I think? No, it's the Azure Wield. That's my favorite zone. But it's not. Well, actually, new missions in 5 minutes. Maybe we wait 5 minutes. Let's wait 5 minutes. See what happens. We'll go to the bar.
Alright.
Oh, there's an arcade here.
This is new.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I've not seen this before.
Well, Lloyd dominates it apparently.
I think the witch's hat on this propane tank is really cute.
It is pretty cute.
It gives it a lot of personality.
Can I push that button?
I'll try to.
This is a disservice. I can't.
You need
push
to be able
button.
to push that button.
It's telling me to push it. Why? God.
Gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
This is a good spot. It's a little cozy.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't smack the ghost.
And they laugh at you.
They do. Oh, I love that. Okay, next question. How do you react in uncomfortable situations?
So it depends on the kind of uncomfortable situation.
Okay.
if it's a situation where I feel unsafe or I'm getting upset, I disengage.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that, like, there's not going to be good way to converse if I'm very upset or if I'm angry or if I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm unsafe, it's time to leave.
Yeah, find a place
right?
that you do feel safe.
Exactly. So I leave. I rarely start arguments, or I rarely continue arguments if one side is getting heated. Because I'm like, look, unless I'm doing my job, I'm here to have fun. Like, I'm here to enjoy myself. And even when you're angry, like, we have procedures for when a student gets really angry, and it is somewhat to disengage. So, but if it's just unfamiliar, and that's what makes it uncomfortable, or like it's like a little upsetting, but not in the anger or safety areas. I'll try to communicate that.
Okay.
And then I try to keep an open mind with that stuff. This is when I was very young, and this is not my stance anymore, but for a while I was, and like, this is why I try to keep an open mind. For a while I was uncomfortable with the idea of like transgender, like, people changing their gender. That's not the case anymore. But when I was younger, I didn't understand it, and it made me a little upset that this group of people, it was okay for them to radically modify, like, and at that time I used the word mutilate, but now I would say
gosh
modify.
yeah
Yeah well, and the reason, and I'm getting to the reason why I use such aggressive language, was because I have struggled with anorexia. And so I saw that I hated the way my body looked. And it made me very uncomfortable. I wanted to change it. But it was it was not okay for me to do it. But then I saw this other group that could even more radically change their bodies. And it was okay. There's mental illness in there. That's not my stance anymore.
Yeah.
Because I realize there's a difference between there's a difference between body dysmorphia and gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
But like, my response to that was, to angrily refute that. Like, no, like, why is it okay for you but not me? But now I try to keep a more open mind, because you could be the difference if you accept something.
And people are people.
Exactly.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, they're still people, and you're still a person, and we all matter.
Yeah, it took a friend of mine coming out, and going through the process of getting hormones and all that to really, like, I realized, hey, that's still my same friend.
Yeah.
They're named after a month now. I do that trend, like that I get a little kick out of that. That's common. But like, they're named after a month now, but they're still, my friends. They're still they identify differently, and some parts of their identity have changed, but they're still the person that I care about.
Yeah. From my experience, it's someone close to you or someone within a friend group that kind of pushes those boundaries. Like, if you're uncomfortable with some a new idea, it's largely because you haven't interacted with the idea a whole lot yet to really solidify, and those unknowns and uncertainties are often what drive, fear like that, in my opinion. At least that's what I've experienced.
And that's why it's super important to have a very diverse group of people you talk to. As diverse as you can make it.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Do you want the next one?
Sure. How many more we got?
Let's see. We are on question 11 and we have 25. So almost halfway.
Okay. I'll try to pick up the pace on these.
It's okay. I forgot to let you know that I expect these to last around 2 hours, but if that can't work for you, we can pick this up another time.
Sure.
Okay. Next question is, when was the last time you were validated?
Validated. Yesterday. Yeah, no. I've been seeing a romantic interest. And, as the first person in a while to, just show, what's the word? I don't want to get too explicit here. like just desire, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes you feel wanted.
Yeah, because I'm a tall bearded white guy. I'm always nervous of that, I look like a creep, or that I'm making people feel uncomfortable, because people that look like me have given people like me a bad rap.
Yeah.
And other people are right, and they're reasonable to be concerned. So it was nice for someone to tell me that they didn't see that in me, that I'm not weird for expressing desire, and that I am desired.
Yeah, that does sound really validating. Kind of like it proves that I had the words. But yeah, that sounds really validating, and
self-esteem, I think, is the word.
Yeah, it proves that you have value, and that everything you fear about yourself isn't necessarily true. That you are a good person despite things that get in your way. Yeah, that sounds really nice. I'm glad you had that experience.
So this next one will be number 15, right?
I believe so. Let me look.
Why don't we do this one and then save the last 10 for another time?
Okay.
I gotta get food in me. Soon.
Yeah, that's fine. The next one will be 13, but that still gives us at least halfway. Do you want to pick this up later tonight or next week?
I think next week would be better.
Okay. Same time next week?
Sure.
Okay. The scenery might be different next week, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. The last question for today is, who are you? I'm gonna get really close to you now for this one.
Eye contact. There's a lot of ways you can identify yourself. I could say different identities I have, which I like in terms of identities. I'm a cis man. I can talk about I can talk about diagnoses I have. Like I can say I have autism. I can say that I'm extroverted. Use those groupings that people like to use. Some are very contrived and used to try and create community for people, or like create camaraderie, not community. But yeah, like I genuinely enjoy being around people. But I think if I was going to try and like narrow it down to just one thing, I think I'm a collaborator. I am someone who, like, I don't do things by myself. I am someone who works with or for people. And I'm not very motivated. I'm not very self-motivated. I am motivated by others.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes not great, but it is also an asset in other ways. But I don't watch movies unless I'm watching it with someone. I used to love Minecraft, and when people stop playing it, I'm like, stacking blocks is not as fun by yourself.
No. Yeah.
So yeah, I think if I was going to try and describe myself in one word, which wasn't a stipulation you gave,
no,
I would say that I'm a collaborator.
I like that. I think it's good work. A good word. Yeah, I like that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, go get some food. Thank you for spending an hour with me. And we'll pick this up next week. Look, they did get rid of the decorations. Things have changed. It's different now.
The goo is still there, surprisingly.
The goo's still there. I think that's part of the season story mode thing that they're doing. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway.
Okay.
You ready for where we left off?
Yeah, let me just put my phone on the quiet mode.
Okay.
And charge it up, and then I'll be good to go.
Oh.
All right, I should be good to go. Wait, where'd you go?
I don't think I should be up here. I'm up here. I'm behind you.
That is incredibly threatening. How did you get up there?
So
you just climbed the chair and...
Not quite.
Oh, did you climb me?
So I went over here.
You can get up here.
I jumped up on the ledge over here.
Oh, you went the hard way.
Yeah. And then climbed up. Ah! There we go.
Oh, is that there we were just starting?
Yeah, no, we should interview over here. Here we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
I feel like I'm being accosted.
Sorry.
And like I have lens flare, so it's like I got like the like interrogation thing in my.
Do you wanna switch spots?
No, this is very funny. Unless you wish to have a more
No. It's okay. It's funny though. So we last left off with question 13 of who are you? We answered that question. The next question is, outside of race, gender, and career, how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself outside of race, gender, and career? I feel like this is almost a bait and switch with the last question, where they like when they say who are you, they start describing themselves with these.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was going to, so yeah, race, gender, and career are very important things in American society.
Mm-hmm, they are.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I understand why you chose those three, and that has a lot. Like, I think that particularly gender and race has a lot to do with affects my self-expression greatly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So let me think. I think that the way I would describe myself is I would still use the single word description I used last time, which is collaborator. But I would also describe myself as I would identify as kind of like a hopeless creative.
Okay.
In the sense that I do creative projects, and I think about creative projects a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely finish them, and they rarely are shown to any I rarely show them to anyone but myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think is fair to say. That might not be a nice way to look at it, because there's people like Emily Dickinson who was definitely a creative and wonderful poet, but no one knew about until her passing.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be an inappropriate description, but kind of like I love creativity. I love being surrounded by creativity, but I do not express it directly myself. I like to encourage others to express it.
Okay. So you're more of a creative encourager.
I'm an enabler.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's one way to put it. Okay. Do you want the next question, or do you feel like there's more to say?
I mean, there's another way that I think people identify themselves, and that is by conditions.
Okay.
And I could say that I'm autistic. I could say that I am that I'm chronically ill, chronically sick as well. And depending on who you ask, that's a very important part of identity, and other people do not wish to define themselves that way. I think that it is a challenge. Those are both challenges that defined me, but definitely definitely had I the cat bopped my mouse away.
That's cute. Hi, kitty. So,
yeah, he hates the mouse. He hates the computer. It's very hard to play video games with cats, it turns out. No one warned me about that before getting a cat. But anyway, yeah, those are things that definitely have defined my life experience, but I do use to describe myself, define myself. Like, I am autistic. That's an important thing about me. But I think that is against the spirit of the question, which is how would you define yourself without the labels of that society typically puts on you?
Yeah, I think so. So I appreciate that. All right, cool. Thank you for sharing. What is something that scares you?
Scares me. This is gonna be a little silly. Driving terrifies me.
Oh, no, I don't blame you. It's scary.
Yeah, I'm halfway through my 20s, and I still haven't learned how to drive. And it's a pain in the butt, because that's not what the United States is. The United States is both politically, economically, and just structurally designed around cars.
Yes.
Car travel.
Yes.
And I don't mind being a passenger. but like the responsibility of being the driver and not only having my life in my own hands, but my passengers, pedestrians, other cars. It's too much responsibility for me to be having like weigh me down while going 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a lot. Understandable.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the hardest thing you've ever had to overcome?
Hardest thing I had to overcome. I think it was probably when I went through my first real depressive episode. Like when I was, around 17 or so, I wasn't really getting, like, when I started high school, I never got the support I needed to continue going through high school, either academically, socially. They kind of just dropped everything because he's like, oh, he did great in the previous grades. He doesn't need anything now.
I see.
I was like, that's why I did great, is I had support.
Yeah.
So school kind of dropped everything. And by senior year, I fell into a really deep depression. And I started getting, therapy, psychiatric help. And it made things worse. And I'm not saying people should not get therapy and psychiatric help, but definitely, like, set boundaries early. Because, I told someone about content warning for, I don't know, the next 5 minutes. I'll talk about suicidal ideation, but not in, like, detail of what will happen.
No, but thank you.
But basically, I told a therapist, actually, I was trying to get into a group therapy setting, and during the admittance, the person asked me, do you have thoughts of suicide? Standard question for therapists to ask. If the answer is yes, you tell them yes. And then the follow-up to that is, do you have a plan to act on that? And me not knowing, like, the social norms, I'm like, I haven't, like, made a plan. But if I was going to, now that's not the right answer.
Yeah.
Do not respond as if it's a hypothetical. They want to know if you're in danger.
They want to know if you're, like, actively considering, like, actively doing it, like, maybe tomorrow.
Exactly. So I told them a plan. And so obviously they had to, go through they had to, commit me to a 5150, which is a 3-day hold in a psychiatric ward.
The duty to warn and all that stuff.
Yeah. So they did that, and so they just said, all right, go. Shit, we gotta take you to the hospital.
Yep. It's like, oh, dang.
Went to the ER. They, like, looked at me, and they're like, well, you did say this. I'm not going to go into details because it's obviously not pleasant and not relevant. And like, we have to hold you. So they're like, all right, you're 17, but you have a beard, so we're going to put you in the adult psychiatric ward.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That is also very illegal.
You're not supposed to do that.
You are not supposed to do that. And that was rough. Especially since they give you roommates in the psychiatric ward.
Oh,
Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. I got paired with a guy who thought he was literally God and did not require sleep, so I didn't get sleep.
That's great.
Yeah, no, I was having, like, depressive self-esteem issues, and I'm there with, a guy who thinks he's God. So, he doesn't have self-esteem issues.
No.
He's got other issues, mainly sitting cross-legged for 24 hours humming for 24 hours straight. Not a great roommate. But that started a journey for me of about 1.5 to 2 years of just, like, of experiencing malpractice in the like psychiatric mental health care system. Going into an outpatient program where they would encourage patients to readmit themselves once their insurance started refusing to pay for a 2-week program they've been in for months.
Huh.
And then having a nurse practitioner, once I stood up for myself and left that program, that was an insurance fraud ring.
Yeah.
That's still very much in business somehow. I was seeking getting a therapist and psychiatrist out of that. And instead I was given a nurse practitioner who gaslit me and threatens to hospitalize me again if I told anyone else about my problems.
Wow. That's not okay.
Yeah, so I'm struggling with mental health, struggling with advocacy, and I'm in a system where that doesn't where I'm not the one to be believed because I'm the crazy guy.
Yeah.
It was not a good time.
No.
That was probably the hardest 2 years of my life.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That's awful.
It's not your fault. I hope it gets better sometime, but all those people still have jobs somehow.
Yeah.
So.
It's like we mentioned before. It's a broken system.
It is. It's not functional.
Like at all.
Yeah. So that was that was a longer answer, but yeah, that was a hard 2 years. But I was so fortunate that the people that I pushed away due to depression, wanting to disappear, be forgotten is something that most people who are depressed and want out of this life do.
Yeah.
And fortunately, many of my friends that I kind of just disappeared on, took me back with open arms.
That's great. I'm glad.
I was able to rebuild a community where I'm important and they support me. So.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy you had those friends, and they were there when you needed them. That's wonderful. Okay, well, do we want to try and do a mission?
Sure.
All right, let me pick one.
We'll see how good my multitasking is with these.
I'm gonna go us on easy because
that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played this game in probably over a year now, so I'll have to relearn controls.
I kind of want to do the basic mining expedition, but there's Macteras and cave leeches. We could do the on-site.
Is that with the refining? I mean, those are pretty chill usually. They just take a while.
Yeah, they do. Alright, we can do that one. Low risk. We're not gonna be public. Friends only. There we go.
Orbital insertion sequence initiated. Board the drop pod.
Do we want drinks?
Oh, sure. You buying?
I might as well, yeah. I'll buy a drink.
Rounds of red rock blasters, extra sugar around the ring.
What do these do? Does this just more health?
I don't remember what this one does. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
Cheers!
Okay.
I just know that.
Long live the dwarves!
I just know that before you go, you usually buy one of these.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they gave us a buff.
Yep.
Oh, I missed. Tragic.
Okay. Off we go.
Could you please hurry up? We're leaving!
Sequence initiating. Fasten your seatbelt.
Okay. So, the next question, as we load in, is gonna be, what frustrates you the most about life?
I think the thing that for us about my life or just life in general.
It could be either or.
I think starting in general, the thing that frustrates me most about life is that people offer support to the people who need it. Like most people, like offer support to the ones who need it the least.
Okay.
Like, you know, in my job, you know, we have like, you know, summer school programs, right?
Yeah.
And the way those summer school programs work is like they're designed to cater to the like, oh, like, hey, if you're doing really well in math right now, take the summer program and skip a year of math and get to calculus 1 year early. And that is like kind of nonsense. They don't need help. Why are we giving them more help? It's kind of silly.
Yeah, I totally see that a lot. It's almost like the ones that are easier to help are the ones that get helped more often
because like you get the gratification.
Yeah, and then also like insurance companies and other things that are based on productivity and like making things happen, see things happening because, you know, we're helping the people that don't need help making things happen.
Yeah. It's like, no, like if we see a lot of challenge in what we're doing,
kind of give up.
Well, like that means that this is needed, this is necessary. But that's not the metric that's being used. Where like we give them less attention.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma around that.
So that's probably like my thing where it's like, why do like what's our? Oh, you gotta do it from the base. Okay. I don't know why we can't reverse engineer this, but I guess that one has the pipe fuse. Oh, I'm not gonna talk about mechanics of this. I feel like I'm not an expert enough to make that conversation interesting.
That's all right.
But basically, yeah, that's like the thing that irritates me most about like just experiences in life. I think the thing that makes me most frustrated, like in my own personal life, is how difficult, like how much we pretend accessible, like how much, probably just like how we treat disability. Bothers me a lot.
Okay.
As disability is always something that everyone tries to hide because they don't like seeing it. Which, like, yeah, basically, it like disability is, you know, it's not great to be disabled, but it is not something that always needs to be solved.
Yeah.
And that's what we see happen. We see disability be treated
like a problem.
A problem that needs to be solved, and if it can't be solved, we need to make it not as bad. And so that's something that frustrates me.
Go ahead.
No, go. I was just going to talk a little more about like how it's like that's not how it should be, and is actually one of the reasons people get less help.
Okay.
Like when we're talking when like as a special educator, like someone going into special education, one of the things we're taught about is parents of children with a disability, when they hear their child is disabled, they grieve as if the child died. Like it's the same level, they go through the same stages.
Yeah.
And this is like, you know, backed up by a lot of research. Which for many disabilities is like, as someone who knows like what those entail, is absurd. It doesn't like that's not the case. You can totally like you can live a totally normal life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the thing that frustrates me the most with that.
Yeah, that does sound frustrating. I think I've experienced a little bit of that, not for myself, but I've seen other people react that way towards some stuff, and yeah, I agree. It is kind of frustrating, and I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Oh yeah, no, you don't need to apologize. That's the thing that's like one thing that's like obviously like I don't get mad when people express sympathy, but it's like annoying when it's like, oh, I tell someone like, oh, I have this condition. You go, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm still here, guys. Like nothing has changed. Like nothing. Like I'm still the person that you talked to 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I haven't died. Like sometimes I get some inconveniences, right? That happens, but like also like don't mourn me or give me like empty like apologies unless you actually have something to help me with there, because it's like, and that's not directed towards you. It's just like that's like the experience of disability is having people beg forgiveness for you struggling.
Yeah, that does sound frustrating.
But like, yeah, disabled life is like, I mean, I could go into I can go into all this forever about quality of life and all that jazz. But I think that gets the basic idea out.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Do you want the next question?
Sure.
The next question is, what excites you the most?
What excites me the most? Well, one thing that really excited me just now is I had a friend text me and ask me what an RPG is, and boy, do I have some things to tell them. But
that's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Like the Nintendo fan just heard about the Super Mario RPG thing. And they're like, what's an RPG? And it's like, oh, are you in for a treat? But what excites me? So sharing knowledge always excites me. So that's like, I think that like in general is, I think that's a good one. Yeah. Sharing knowledge, sharing is like a big part of like my passion, because you not only are you sharing power, but you're sharing community, you're sharing part of you.
Yeah.
So being able to share knowledge and experiences with someone, like especially new ones that they wouldn't have experienced otherwise, that is something I love doing, and I think it's a great gift to give to people, and also bring people together that wouldn't normally be be together or like associate with each other.
Definitely get different people together sharing knowledge. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Thank you. Do you want the next one?
I think that one thing that it took me a while to realize that this is the thing that excited me the most. So I can. So when I first started going to college, I actually was going to study veterinary medicine.
Okay.
I was at a community college, and I started some classes to become a veterinary technician, which is kind of like, think of all the different not doctor positions in a hospital, and that is what the vet tech does in the veterinary scene. It's janitorial, it's it's like
secretary,
it's prepping patients, anesthesia, it's everything.
Wow.
And I was like halfway through this program, and I started learning about the work culture of veterinary technology, and realized it was and I really didn't like it. Mainly that it was on call. This idea that I didn't know when I'd be working.
Yeah.
And I reevaluated, like, and I realized I wouldn't be working much with people. Like, I would be like managing a bunch of different things at once, and I couldn't focus on a task. And so I had to reevaluate what I liked to do with animals, because up to that point, I loved working with animals.
Yeah.
But I realized the thing I loved most about working with animals when I was, working on a goat farm was teaching others about the animals and sharing knowledge and community.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's that's kind of that's how I actually decided to start teaching. Was that kind of realization.
Yeah. That's really neat. I like that. I've thought about that for myself, of trying to distill down the things that I enjoy to figure out, like, okay, what kind of career does that mean? What does this equal? And yeah, there's a lot of different routes to get to where you want to be, and sometimes it's, trying to get social connection through being a vet tech. And I find that interesting. Thank you for sharing.
There's actually like two ways that I think, like, there's like two main ways to think about careers in terms of what's a good career. And you could consider a good career one where you do what you love, which is kind of an unreasonable goal for most people.
Yeah.
But there's also what allows you to do, what gives you the resources and the time to do what you like. And that's like also, doesn't destroy your mental health.
Yeah, that's important.
So, in terms of work, those are the two mindsets I think about, and both are valid.
Yeah, I agree. All right, do you want the next one?
Shoot.
Okay. Well, first of all, do you want to press this button? Never mind, you already did it.
Oh, sorry. Did I?
No,
I should have
it's good.
asked. My bad.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. The next question is, why did you agree to the game we're playing? Mostly what I'm asking is, what's your connection to this game?
This game, I played it. I had a group, like, during the start of the pandemic. I had a group. I played this game a lot. So that's kind of, and eventually, I stopped playing it because the friend I played it with the most played it with their partner, and then they broke up with their partner.
Oh no.
And so we kind of stopped playing because of that.
Yeah, bad memories.
Yeah, but like, it's fun. But also, it's kind of like, I'm a big fan of roguelikes. I'm a big fan of games that are procedurally generated, and this one has like a nice objective that's familiar. And I also like the Left 4 Dead, so it worked out.
Yeah, it kind of puts it together.
Yeah, so. That's why I like this game. I haven't played it in a while because after you play it for a bit, you kind of do all the things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I totally understand what you mean.
And like that's not to discredit the game. Not everything is made to be played indefinitely, and that's something that I've learned recently. I used to be like, all right, I'm gonna value this game where I'm playing by the amount of playtime I'm gonna get out of it. But then, like, I remember Starfield came out recently, and some people are like, oh yeah, it's good up in, like, it starts to get good at like 70 or 50 hours or something. I can't remember the number they said, but it was
gosh.
like, oh yeah, the game starts to get like really good at 50 hours. And I'm like, dude, that's like an entire week of paid work. That's a full-time week.
Yeah.
Just for it to be good?
With overtime.
Yeah, like, that's, like, and I'm paying you for this experience. So I've started to, I want to start appreciating shorter games more.
Yeah. As someone who streams some of the games that I want to play, I have appreciated more of the shorter ones, because sometimes the longer games, sometimes that's just a slog to stream, of like, this is taking too long, I want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
I get that.
like, yeah, especially if you're doing entertainment for an audience. I mean, like, man, like some of those games, they're not short and sweet, and I'm like,
No.
all right, I understand why there's so many Fortnite streamers now. You can just get in, and if it's not going well, it ends.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Then you do another.
Yeah, like that. Like I don't like Fortnite because there's too much setup for me. Like the loop involves a very slow part in the beginning. And it feels ungratifying when you're not good at it, because you spend just tons of time grinding resources. But you know, that's my criticism. That's not like that's a design choice that I don't like. But it's like, it makes, at the same time, if your game's not going well, it's over. You don't have to slog through it. Like, there's a lot of multiplayer games where it's like, we're losing, I'm not having fun, I'm stuck dead most of the time.
Yeah.
And you know, that's not a problem with Fortnite. So I get why it's so popular with streaming specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good perspective. I like it. Thank you. All right. Next question is, what is something you're proud of?
Something I'm proud of.
Yeah.
Getting my teaching credential. I'm pretty proud of that.
Awesome.
In California, it is extremely difficult. I probably wrote, like, the second part, it's a 2-part thing that involves recording. Like, at the end of it, you have to record like 5 days worth of lessons, and then 1 more for the first part.
Wow.
Pick out 5 minutes. Pick out like a few 5-minute clips from all of that footage.
Oh gosh.
And then do a write-up that covers everything that you did for them.
Oh, that's awful.
And then do a write-up justifying why you did everything you did. It ended up being close to 50 pages for me.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds exhaustive.
It's pretty intense, and I'm pretty proud of myself for doing all that.
Yeah.
But at like the senator at time of recording, Gavin Newsom, has like announced how he wants to get rid of it now, because we have a massive teacher shortage across the country. There's over 300,000 vacant positions across the country for teaching.
Yeah, it's a bad time.
Less in my area, because we treat teachers better here. But like, especially in Florida, Oklahoma, where like there's been actual like chicanery going on with politics and administration when it comes to education. But yeah, it's kind of like, man, I did like one of the hardest things I've ever done, and it's like, future generations aren't going to have to do that, which is probably a good thing. I don't gatekeep.
But
I don't want people to, but like, there's going to be people learning a lot more in the field when it comes to future teachers.
I hope so.
Oh, the other part of that credential is 600 hours of unpaid labor, which I don't think is good.
How many weeks, months is that?
I broke it up into a year and a half.
Oh gosh.
But people who do it full time get it done in a year.
Still a year of unpaid labor?
A year of unpaid, and here's the wild thing: is a lot of schools don't allow you to like do substitute teaching while you're doing this.
That's miserable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a disaster.
Hey, would you like to see my new pet?
Sure. Where's Steve?
They are.
Well, I'm gonna get a Steve of my own.
I now understand why my Glyphid was not attacking me.
Yeah?
I was like shooting it and it was indestructible. It was just staring at me, following me. It turns out I lost connection.
Oh no.
I thought I just made a new friend, and it turns out that I was just being ghosted.
Oh, yeah, I have Bosco now. Okay, well, I'm gonna finish this level, and then we'll catch back up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, would you like to continue it while we're finishing? I'm sure that's fine.
Yes. But... Let me.
Where were we?
Let me do that. So we were on unpaid labor, which is awful, and the thing you were most proud of, which was your teaching degree, right?
That's the most recent thing I've been really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
But that I've done recently. But I also I got better. From that experience I was telling you earlier. I was proud of that.
Yeah.
And I do feel just immense pride whenever my friends complete something.
Mm-hmm.
Or like when my friends do something creative or something cool. I'm someone who is not jealous. I do not feel jealousy. I only feel pride for what people around me have accomplished if I care about them.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you're able to do that. I know not everyone can, but I'm happy that you are.
So yeah, those are probably the things I'm most proud of.
Mm-hmm. Right, let me invite you back to the lobby. Unless you want to wait till you're done.
I think that those are the things I'm proud of. I think those are pretty good.
Do you want the next question?
Hold on. I am invisible, so let me just.
Oh yes, you are. There you are.
If you have that as one of your questions, why are you always invisible on Discord? It's because I play in like tiny little roguelikes and various embarrassing games to keep my hands busy. While I'm playing tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, I feel that.
They don't require my hands; they just require my voice
and your mind, your attention.
Yeah. And Bloons Tower Defense 4 does not. The Tower Defense 6 now doesn't require my mind in the slightest.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad it works out. Do you want the next question?
Sure.
The next question is, what is your most prized possession and why?
Ooh. That's interesting because I just threw out tons of stuff because I moved recently.
Yeah.
But I still have a lot of mementos.
And
it changes over the years. I think right now, one thing that I've always kept on my bookshelves or always visible is I have basically the complete set of the first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books.
Wow.
So the first D&D books published, I have pretty much the whole set. I'm missing Fiend Folio, which is kind of rare. But I do have a copy of the Deities and Demigods book, which it's a extremely rare book because it only had like one printing because it has copyrighted characters in it.
Oh no!
Like basically, I think it was Gary.
Gygax?
No, it wasn't. was it Gygax? Most of the books are written by Gygax, but that might have been one of the other contributors. But basically, they're like, hey, gods are an important thing in the game, and in first edition they were way more important than fifth edition. Here's a list of example gods, and they use real life gods from all sorts of religions, not Christianity or any monotheistic stuff, but they did have Cthulhu in there.
Okay.
They had like Lovecraft, and then they had a couple others that I'm blanking on the name, but they got sued, so they changed. They only sold like one edition of Deities and Demigods, and after that they changed it to Legends and Lore and published it without the copyrighted material in it.
Interesting.
So
that's
those
really
are books.
Interesting.
I like to collect work. Like I don't like some of those books are not good. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
And even parts of the books that I use to play games, I ignore because they are very problematic and bigoted. As was the time. This is when fantasy races are racist, and they are pretty bad in this edition.
That's not good.
Yeah, then between you, like, if I'm being honest, it has not gotten better with newer editions of D&D. It's just they've just gotten better at hiding it.
Yeah.
Like the Kenku race is just like Jim Crow. Like it's pretty insensitive still. But that's not what I'm talking about. Sorry for the tangent.
It's okay.
But the thing I was getting at is my favorite thing to showcase or favorite thing to have are seminal works. Things that show a change. A big change in literature or a medium or something like that. I like the pieces that change something or were evidence of that.
Yeah.
They're not, a lot of times they're not that good because they're the first.
Yeah.
But I find them to be interesting and very important. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think so.
Yeah. So someone might be like, hey, why do you have a book called Oriental Adventures just on your shelf? And my answer is because I think it's important to remember.
Yeah.
And having that backstory, like having backstory on those pieces of history are really important to understanding how we got to where we are and start dealing with problems in the present.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my next question is, what class do you usually prefer to play in D&D?
Human fighter. And you're gonna think, oh man, you're basic for this. Or a lot of people might. I really like. I think that it's either human fighter or human like rogue, or in this game they're called thief. And rogue is like a level has that title.
Okay.
There are no wizards. There's magic users, and at level 10 you earn the title of wizard.
I see.
But I really like the martial classes, or like the basic characters in games, because I like to engage with the core components of a game, like the core mechanics. I combined the word component and mechanic. So that's why I say companic. Yeah. But, no, new phrase coined here.
I love it.
No. Yeah. It's like so that's why I like that.
Yeah, okay. I think that makes sense. Cool. Do you want the next question?
Sure.
The next question is, how do you take care of yourself?
How do I take care of myself? When I want a beefy 5-layer burrito from Taco Bell, I get myself a beefy 5-layer burrito from Taco Bell.
I see.
Yeah, I try to let myself enjoy things and try to make sure that tell myself that's okay.
You're allowed to enjoy things in life, like the beefy 5-layer burrito.
So often I've switched over to the cheesy bean and rice because it has the same core components, but is $1.50.
Yeah, it's much cheaper.
And then I was betrayed by the beefy bean and rice, the beefy cheese. It's like the cheesy beef and rice burrito or something like that.
Yeah, something
because
like
I
that.
got it and it was just rice, and I'm
No!
like, how did this happen? How did you just skipped? I just getting rice in a tortilla. That's just double carbs without any of the gratification.
Wow, that's awful. I'm so sorry.
So I decided, you know what? I deserve the full price burrito. I this is a self-care action.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I love that. Do you feel like that answered your question?
I think so. That's like
Okay.
just letting myself do things just for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. The next question is, what is the question you wish for me to ask you? Like, is there a question that you feel like, oh gosh, I wish they would ask me this question so that I can then answer about this particular topic that I'm particularly passionate about or something?
Have I talked about rats much?
No, not really.
All right, ask me what I think the best. Ask me what I think the best pet is.
What's the best pet?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question to answer because everyone has different preferences with their pets. But I think that the best pets, like the most underrated pet at least, are rats.
Okay.
Like fancy rats are what they're called. They're the domesticated rats. They're very, very social animals. Pretty low maintenance, especially if you like cats and dogs. They just need like an hour of playtime. Give them a bowl of food that you just keep full. You don't have to worry about measuring that. Give them water. Take them to the vet when they're sick. They play with each other. If you give them toys, they love toys. They're very social. They love to cuddle. They like to be pets and interacted with. They respond well to human touch. Like they get the dopamine.
Interesting. Okay.
And they're fun.
Yeah. What's fun about them?
The fun thing about them is they're very energetic. They love to explore. And they like to be social. So sometimes you get to see the rat drama unfold.
The rat drama.
The rat drama of like, who's in charge, who's not in charge, who gets to eat first, and if someone goes out of line, who like gets shoved off to the side, gets slapped, or they start boxing each other. They're a joy. Like I saw one thing online and I thought it was like the best way to describe it is, here's my 3 little gay men living in a penthouse.
I could see that. That's adorable.
The one thing that some people will complain about is the lifespan of rats. They live like 2 to 3 years. But I think that short-lived pets are generally better.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, first of all, these are colony animals, so you don't have just one. So it's not like you lose them all at once. Like you replenish your colony, you keep building it.
Okay.
So it's like you're never. If you set it up right, you don't have to be an empty nester. But one of the biggest problems that we have, like one big problem we have with pet ownership, and one of the things that causes a lot of strays is animals are really big commitments, and sometimes we have to give them up because we don't have the time. We don't know where we're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people can confidently tell you where they'll be in 2 to 3 years. As adults.
Yeah. So
I think that, especially for younger people who are just getting started in life, rats are a great pet.
Okay.
They're also not, they are invasive like cats are, but they are prey, which makes them a little better.
A little bit.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the Gambian pouch rats, 3-foot long rats that have devastated the Florida Keys, even though they are also super smart, and they're trained to sniff out landmines and tuberculosis in Africa.
That's amazing.
They are adorable and wonderful, and I wish they weren't so invasive, because I would love to have one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the question that I like to talk about. I in all my online profiles, I like add the little thing that says DM me for rat facts.
Wonderful.
I have a lot of them.
Yes. Can I have a little rat fact?
I gave you one, but I'll give you another one.
Give me another one. What do I owe you?
There are no rats in Alberta, Canada.
Why?
In the 1950s, Alberta, Canada spent hundreds of thousands of that time period dollars on a program to get rid of all the rats and all like the invasive rodent species in Alberta, Canada.
Okay.
They distributed enough arsenic powder to like try and get rid of the rat population and like track them.
Yeah.
They gave civilians enough of this to poison the entire population of humans in Alberta, Canada. We're talking thousands of tons.
Wow.
Of arsenic.
So did people get poisoned trying to get rid of the rats?
I don't. There was some warnings. Hey, put this in your basement. Don't let the baby in the basement.
I see. Okay.
It worked though. In 2016, there was 2 cases of rat infestations in the entirety of Alberta, Canada, and they were taken care of.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a fun map that's like, populations of rat population in the world.
Yeah.
And the ice caps are barren, right? Because nothing can live there, but things evolve to live there. And then there's just this giant white hole in the middle of North America
in
where
Alberta.
It's like there are no rats in Alberta, Canada.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. That's amazing.
Are we migrating?
We can if you want. Mostly, yeah, let's go over here.
We haven't been to the memorial. Oh, wait, is the memorial hall blocked off?
No, it's just, it's got a screen. Crush me, elevator. Thank you.
I wish all elevators were just. Oh no.
Oh no.
I was looking in the wrong direction. I forgot it was a switch up. All right, there we go. All right. Yeah, my hall's probably not as impressive as yours.
I don't know. I only played Scout. And that's it.
Oh yeah, I pretty much only play Gunner, but I toyed with the others. Having Big Gun is fun.
Big Gun is fun. Agreed. All right. Next question is, when are you the happiest?
When am I the happiest? When I'm with others, generally, I think when I'm with others who are excited to see me. That's like, for a while, one of the many reasons I love tabletop RPGs is for a while the only time that I would like meet with others who like were really excited, like were pumped to see me specifically, was in the tabletop RPGs because I was the game master. You needed me to do the thing, so everyone was grateful for that. Everyone's happier there, no matter what.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Yeah. Fortunately, I've met more people, and now I'm able to feel that experience with more than just ones that need a lot of effort from me.
Yeah.
But when I am with someone who is excited to see me and do things with me, there's when I probably feel the happiest.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm really glad that you have that. That's wonderful. I'm glad that you have people in your life that are happy to see you, because from what I understand, you are a wonderful person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The last question is who would you want to see me interview next?
Oh, I don't know a lot of people who are very public.
That's okay.
I'm a pretty private person, generally, and I agree to this because I don't have to, share my name or
reveal stuff.
Teachers are very guarded with their online presence because not because admin cares or like that, but like some parents and students don't have enough to do, and so they find the teacher and they try and get them in trouble or so it's best to go ahead.
I've seen the news stories.
Yeah, and honestly, like it makes me so angry when I see it makes me as angry as everyone else when I see a teacher who used talked to students outside of class or was very unprofessional or even did did awful things with their students, because it's like I'm already scared. Like as someone who genuinely wants to help students, who is very passionate about giving everyone equal opportunities. This has given me it's not going to, hopefully it doesn't hurt me like by some false accusation, which a majority of them aren't. But yeah, it's you have to be like, when you're working with, like, if you're on a platform with a lot of young people on it, you have to be professional because you are an educator, you are a mandatory reporter, you are a role model for students, even in your off time.
Yeah.
But I don't know who, like, I scanned through a few of them, and so I don't know if I have like a solid like I don't have a person for you.
That's okay.
But I think someone from a walk of life you haven't experienced before, either be like from another country or in a profession that you've not seen, or just of a either like racial or gender identity you're not like of yourself.
Yeah,
I think are good topics. I think it's like, because like that also, like, I know you're very open-minded, but your viewers, I imagine, since you're on Twitch, some of them are fairly young, and I think that when we use the internet to encourage meeting a diverse group of people rather than an echo chamber, that's when it's strongest and most powerful.
Yeah.
So maybe not ones you haven't seen, but maybe something that is outside of your viewer demographic would be my answer.
Okay. I'll see what I can find. But thank you for that answer. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No pressure, but that's my recommendation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, because, as we were through before, you're not very public. So normally I would say, like, where can we find you and whatnot, but for this time, we're not gonna do that.
You can find me in your hearts,
Yes.
or in your minds. But
And by rewatching this interview.
yes, yeah. If you press the little spinny thing at the back, if you don't have autoplay on, turn that autoplay off. It's not good for anyone.
Thank you for your advice and thank you for your time. It's been lovely having you, and I hope that you take care of yourself as you mentioned, and do the work that you want to be doing. I wish good things upon you is what I'm saying.
Likewise.
Thank you. Wonderful. And with that, to the invisible audience who may or may not have been listening, thank you for being here and thank you for existing. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see you some other time. All right. Take care. Good night. Do you want to say goodbye?
Farewell. Do something. Do something that makes you feel good with your lives. Do something that makes you feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Fulfillment's important.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you again, and good night. Take care.
Yeah. Good night.